Hello, Year 11. Now we've done question 3A on the topic of Versailles, we need to move to question 3B. Now, question 3B, all the answers are in the material on the paper, and you can get full marks if you can follow a simple process. So a little bit like building just a simple Lego toy, as long as you can follow our simple stages, you should always be able to get full marks. So we'll move on to looking at how this question is going to work. Okay, this is what question 3B looks like. It will say, study interpretations 1 and 2. They give different views on the Treaty of Versailles. What is the main difference between the views? And explain your answer using details from both interpretations. Now, to get the marks, there's a certain structure and approach you've got to follow, and we're going to look at that on the next slide. Okay, so I'm looking for the different views these interpretations have on Versailles. So when I read interpretation 1, I read phrases like Versailles was quite moderate, I've just highlighted there. I read phrases like it was not excessively harsh. So, the view I get from this source on Versailles is that Versailles was a fair treaty, it was balanced, it was not too tough. And then when I contrast this to interpretation 2, I read things like it was an outrageous treaty, that it was perpetrated, which means done by a gang of robbers. It was a blatant, that means purposeful, act of plunder, that means stealing. So basically, this interpretation is saying it's an outrageous treaty, it's an obvious act of stealing stuff from Germany, and it's done by a gang of robbers. So when I read that, I can obviously come to a conclusion, and I'm circling it here, that Versailles, according to interpretation 2, was a really tough treaty on Germany, that it was excessive, and that it was much too tough. Now I've done that reading, I can do stage 1, the preparation. So I need to draw a little grid that has interpretation 1 on one side, interpretation 2 on the other side. The grid doesn't have to be too big, maybe 3 or 4 lines will do you. And then on the left-hand side for interpretation 1, I just need to find and summarize in my own words its view on Versailles. And then, like I highlighted on the previous slide, I need to back that up with 1 or 2 quotes that supports this. And then I need to do the same for interpretation 2. So I need to jot down my idea of the opposing view, and then I need to, again, use some of those phrases or quotes from the interpretation to support it. Now I've got my table with my preparation, I can move to stage 2 and write this up. And to do it, we use a very precise writing frame. So I need to begin my paragraph with interpretation 1's view is that, and then obviously I know what interpretation 1's view is now, so I put that in. And this is shown where the interpretation says shows. And again, I should have 1 or 2 quotes that I should be able to put in there. I then need to contrast. I need to say, however, interpretation 2's view is different. It suggests something else about the Treaty of Versailles, and I should have worked that out, and I should have summed that up in my own words. And I can also find 1 or 2 quotes from interpretation 2 to back up that view. So what I can do now is, or what you should do now, is produce your paragraph showing the difference between interpretation 1's view and interpretation 2's view. And that's today's task, so to create that paragraph.